I'm white. I'm black. I'm yellow. I'm red.
I am ranked.
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an awesome weekend so far. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies have sprung back slightly since that dip that we had when we went down to about $16,100. Now, since then, we have had a slight recovery. However, many people are now calling for lower levels, 15,000, 14,000, 13,500 for Bitcoin. Why is that happening? Well, you can see right now we are forming a bit of a bearish pennant on the 1 hour. Now, this is a lower time frame chart, so these types of patterns do hint at continuations of bigger moves to the downside. But in today's video, what I really want to talk about is, have we actually had a bullish Bitcoin dump? I want to look specifically at these levels and where we had the bounce. I also want to discuss the fact that this is not the first time that Bitcoin has done something like this. In fact, we have some insane fractals that I need to point out that actually point to the fact that Bitcoin could be setting up for a 200% rally, which would bring the price to a minimum of $39,000 per Bitcoin. Now, that's not saying things couldn't get a little shaky in the short term, but you're definitely going to want to stick around for this. These fractals are going to absolutely blow your mind. Also, the fact that we have news that China could be responsible for up to 1% of the Bitcoin total being dumped right now from the Plus token scam that was acquired. So we're going to talk about that. And also the fact that Russia has actually proposed some legal protection for cryptocurrency holders. So is Russia actually coming around to things like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, or are they just looking to tax it? Well, could be a little bit of both, but if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you are not subscribed, consider it. Today's video, we're going to get out super quick, get straight to the point. If you guys want a ledger, you know what to do by now. You know what to do. So hopping in and having a look right here, you can see that we are forming a bit of this bearish pennant. Now, this is on a lower time frame. We could expect to come to the end of this wedge, maybe come back down here and retest around the $15,800 level. That is one possibility, but I'm going to show you an insane fractal that, regardless of what happens, could actually show that what we're having is in fact a bullish dump. Now, like my buddy Alejandro, Bitcoin to 30K said, are you selling or are you buying? Now, the reason he mentions this is because, like we said previously, if you have a look at this weekly resistance, this close that we had way back during the crazy rally of 2017 into 2018, and we come all the way over here, that is exactly where we had the wick down to the bottom. And you can see this. This is even over on our chart that we posted as well. We wicked exactly. So I love to see these previous levels become significant even years later, okay? So this definitely could help to push the Bitcoin bullish narrative. Now, we didn't actually come all the way down and touch the previous short-term resistance. We actually would have to come down to about the $15,800 level, which, interestingly enough, would line up with the level I just spoke about. So there is always that potential, that this does end up turning into a bearish pennant. We have a bit of a retest down here, and then we could be back on our way again. But I know what you're saying. The market, it's overheated, it's too hot, we have to have a major dump. Well, there are certain targets that we could talk about going down to. Like Altcoin Psycho says, crypto Twitter's gonna hate me for this, but I have strong conviction we will see Bitcoin down into the 13K-ish level. Now, that is a possibility, right? We had a lot of resistance back at these levels right here during the 2019 top that we had, and currently we had difficulty trying to break out of it this year. So let's dive in and let's have a look. Well, in all possibility, we do have the legacy trend line that started back here, right? And we came all the way up in 2019, and when we came back down, we had a beautiful bounce off of that. That level also acted as our short-term resistance during the pandemic scare, and then once again, it became our support. So if you are looking for an incredibly bearish case for Bitcoin, and you do believe that we need to come down, then yes, it is totally possible to retest this previous trend. I don't think we're going to fall straight down. I just don't see that happening. We could have a slow, boring sell-off over the next couple months in which we could maybe come down and retest that 13K level that a lot of people are talking about, right? But what you do need to look at on the short term is the 21 exponentials. Now, I love using the 21 exponentials. They're great indicators for Bitcoin. And you can see right here, we basically held above it quite well during this entire rally. And although we did dip below it, you can see that we have held above it ever since. Now, also, we can move this to the weekly. I like to look at the weekly 21 exponential as well. You can see once again, acting as major support right here during the rally. We had the bounce and major support again right here. So there is the potential chance that we could come down and try to meet it. Now, keep in mind, this is going to do something like this. It's going to still move up. So even if we come down right here, let's say, I'm just throwing this out here, that's about 14,000, and I'm just eyeballing this. I don't really know what it'll do. But so is the $13,000, $14,000 level possible? Yes, it is. So now that we got that out of the way, have we seen the top? Well, like Peter Brandt says, Bitcoin may correct further, but he says prices have not topped. Now, interestingly enough, let's talk about some crazy fractals. So having a look at what Ethereum did versus Bitcoin, we could see that ETH actually had something quite similar happen. And sometimes these fractals are fun. Sometimes they don't mean anything, but I do like to look at them. They could give us clues as to what we could expect. So the question is this box going to end up looking like this with a fake out rally, one more touch, and then a continuation upwards? Well, here's from Paul Tudor Jones. And Paul Tudor Jones did very, very well predicting gold prices and getting in at the right time with gold. And he did just recently buy Bitcoin as well. In fact, he allocated about 2% of his portfolio. And having a look right here from the gold fractal all the way from 1973 onward to the Bitcoin fractal from 2016 to about where we are right now, we could see what we're doing. We're having this sort of initial top with this dip, and then look, after that, it literally just continued and continued and continued, and we could be at that spot again. In fact, I want to point out an interesting fractal that we could be having right now. So this is the recent dump that we just had on Bitcoin, and like I said, we're looking at the lower time frame because it just happened, right? We only have the low time frame to look at. So what this is referred to is an Adam and Eve bottom. Now, Adam and Eve bottoms are typically representative of bottoms of moves. Now, keep in mind, this is shorter time frames. Usually you want to look at them on bigger time frames. So what do they look like? Well, essentially you have the Adam, right, which is a V, and then you have the Eve, which is a U. And then usually you do have a reversal. Now, if you want an example of when this happened last, all you have to do is go back to the bottom. This is the crazy bottom that we had way back in 2018. And you can see right here, we put in the Adam, right? And then we put in a bit of an Eve. Now, some people may actually argue that it was a little bit of a double bottom, right? As in we had the Adam and then we had sort of a double Eve before taking off. But interestingly enough, if we go back and look at what Bitcoin is doing right now, you could argue that we've also put in an Adam and a bit of a double bottom Eve. Now, also, we could say that, if we do have one more retest, this could be a giant Eve right here, and then one more to take off. But the point is if we actually go back and have a look at what happened when this did happen. Now, keep in mind, we're comparing a macro chart to a micro chart, but from the moment that we did break that level to the top, you're talking about a 226% increase. And if we actually take that number and plug it into Bitcoin right now, you're talking about a $39,000 to $40,000 Bitcoin minimally based off of that, that move, right? But having a look at the correction, I want to talk about this little few set of tweets that Edward Mora put out. I really liked how he broke it down. He said, regarding the duration of a correction, so let us assume we're in a bull market. In 2017, we had several corrections between 30 and 40% that lasted anywhere from 4 days to 34 days. It's sensible to assume if we are experiencing a correction now, it won't be 1 day. In my opinion, it'll be more than 1 day. Okay, so having a look right here, he says more thoughts on this. Assuming that we are in a bull market, we have the 0.618 fibs that are usually fantastic buy opportunities. So let's take a look at the period of mid-2015 to late 2017. 6 out of 7 pullbacks we had landed almost exactly at the 0.618 fib. Last pullback only went to 0.5. All dips were between 30 and 40%. So moving forward, looking at what we have right now, currently the 0.618 fib level is around 13,500. That would be a fantastic buying opportunity if it happens. We already had some mini version of that earlier this year, which corrected to the 0.618 fib as well. So that is basically breaking down the ultimate bear scenario. And I did tell you guys, I think it was a few weeks ago, I gave you my ultimate bearish case for Bitcoin, and we were essentially looking at the 200 weekly moving average and where that moving average could potentially meet with a major correction. So long story short, is Bitcoin going below $10,000 ever again? Most likely not. Is Bitcoin going below the 16,000 level that we just hit? Possibly. Worst case scenario, 13.5. But as I showed you with the previous, setups, we could be looking for a 200+% move based on the Adam and Eve double bottom. Now, having a look at fear and greed index, we are cooling off. This is good. Moving down to about 87. We were up around 94. But, for everybody saying, oh, Bitcoin, it's not going to hit a new all-time high. It hasn't hit an all-time high. Well, actually, as you can see by this chart labeled for billions of people, Bitcoin has already hit an all-time high. Well, Venezuelan bolivar, Argentine peso, Turkish lira, the Brazilian real. These have all gone up, guys. So Bitcoin has actually already hit an all-time high in many, many other countries. And as we do continue to print dollars over and over again and have this hyperinflation, then we do have what I believe will be the ultimate Bitcoinization of everything. Now, 4 reasons why we should be bullish midterm. Short term could get shaky, but first, we have USDT or Tether inflows into exchanges increasing. You can see right here that usually increase in Tether means an increase in the Bitcoin price. They usually correlate 1-to-1. And the reason is that this shows actual demand. This is real demand for Bitcoin coming from actual Tether. Now, I'm not going to get into the argument of what is Tether backed by, how are they printing it. That's for another day. But the point is, we are seeing actual demand there. The second thing we need to talk about is an indicator known as the MVRV indicator. Now, it shows the behavior of short-term investors by analyzing addresses that are younger than 155 days. Don't ask me how they came up with this. I have no idea. I'm just relaying the data. So when the short-term MVRV stays above the average level, which means short-term holders are not selling, the bull market has historically remained intact. Now, throughout 2020, the short-term holder MVRV has remained above the same level it saw during previous bull runs, like in December of 2017. It shows that both short-term and long-term investors have demonstrated confidence in the uptrend. Number 3, the realized price or realized cap of Bitcoin has substantially increased during this rally. If the realized price is high, it shows that investors have generally bought Bitcoin at higher prices than ever before. Lots of new money came in, lots of new smart money has come in. A lot of it came in around the $14,000 level. Remember, we had those whale bubbles. So these guys aren't going to buy in at 14K and then try to dump it below that. They want to make money on their investments, right? And the fourth one is the sender address activity has reached an all-time high as of November 13th. I know we're a little, that was like a week ago, but according to data from Glassnode, now the metric doesn't particularly mean that it's an optimistic market sentiment, but it does indicate that the network activity of the Bitcoin blockchain has been very high. So usually when you adopt something with increased usage of something, a network with the network growth, right? That usually, especially when talking about something involving price, could mean that the price could continue to go up, right? Theoretically, that is possible. Now, we had Mike McClone over at Bloomberg. He is the senior analyst, and he says short-term, listen, 20,000 is pretty good resistance. It's very psychological. He says, I'm afraid we're going to do what gold did. And I showed you guys the gold chart, what gold did a few days ago. Not what it did a few days ago, but I showed you a few days ago that once gold hit its all-time high, it blasted through, but then it pulled back and had major sideways and downwards consolidation, which it has still been doing ever since that high. But getting back to Bitcoin, he says the key thing about Bitcoin this year is that it added a 1 to the front of the number. Remember, it was around 7,000 at the end of last year. And now it was, well, I mean, right now we're at 17,000. So it literally added a 1. We went from 7 to 17. That's nuts. That's an incredible growth for Bitcoin. His estimate for the end of 2021 is roughly around $180,000 per Bitcoin. And he says that whereas the last bull cycle was primarily fueled by fear of missing out, this cycle could be fueled by Wall Street equivalent. Now, we have heard about massive dumps potentially from China, right? So this came out from journalist Colin Wu and a few other experts. They believe that a massive amount of Bitcoin and Ethereum that was confiscated by the government from the Plus token scam has been converted into fiat and put into the central bank of China, thus assuming that there has been a bit of selling pressure potentially from these guys selling on exchanges. However, the good news is that they mentioned that about 190,000 Bitcoin, which cost about 3.2 billion, has potentially been sold, and that they don't estimate that the remaining amount is very much. So we do believe that the majority of it has been sold and that there's not much more selling pressure that can come out of China as far as the confiscated crypto from the Plus token scam. So that's a bit of good news, right? Also, coming out of Russia, now this is crazy. Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin, maybe I might have said that wrong, but has appeared to express support for further development of the local cryptocurrency market. So wait, wasn't Russia just getting kind of negative on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency a few months back? Now it's looking like Mishustin is proposing the introduction of legal protections for crypto holders. So this, they're saying, is in order to contribute to the growth of the new industry. Such a framework would develop the industry in a civilized way so that the owners of such assets can protect their rights and interest while at the same time preventing shadow schemes. Well, we do know that when you have property, you have to pay taxes on it, right? So that could also be a bit of a motive. But they go on to say, or he said, let's make a number of changes to the tax code so digital financial assets can be recognized as property, and their owners will be able to count on legal protection in the event of any illegal actions, as well as to defend their property rights in court. So let me know what you think. Are they actually getting friendly, or are they just simply looking to cash in on those sweet taxes? But let's mention the famous pizza chain known as Pizza Hut has officially, I guess, according to this in Cointelegraph in Venezuela, accepted Dash as a cryptocurrency payment via crypto buyer exchange. So there you go, guys. Venezuela, Pizza Hut now accepts cryptocurrencies. So having a look, could we be, setting up for that fractal? Are we looking for a breakout, or is this short-term bear pennant going to dump us down to lower levels? Let me know what you guys think. Maybe we are headed for that fib. Maybe we're going down to 13.5K. However, I do believe that that would in fact be the last dip before the major blast off. So in my opinion, any dip that we get leading up to breaking 20K is a blessing and an opportunity to stack sats, but that's just my opinion and what I'm doing. Not financial advice. You do what you want. It's your money. But that being said, thank you for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You are the reason that I continue to make these videos for 3 years now. We've been doing it for 3 years. This is crazy, man. So thank you. Been an awesome ride, awesome journey with all you. My name is K-Dub. This is CryptoZombie. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.